Hey guys, welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, for being subscribed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit that like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into this reality chat. I thought this was pretty funny, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Every time I see this clown's picture with the smile and if you see the thumbnail, he just looks so sassy in this picture. Okay. But Martell, Arion Baby Wipes Holt, he has been called out by so many platforms and outlets and publications, and I wanted to share this one with you guys. This is from Blavitynews via Yahoo, and someone wrote about him trying to paint Melody in this horrible light of being a terrible wife, mother, and abuser. So someone wrote about it and they said there's nothing Martellholt can do to make us believe Melody is the villain on Love and Marriage Huntsville. Now that season 6 of Love and Marriage Huntsville is finally over, it's time to address the revolving storyline of Martellholt and his resoluteness to vilify his ex-wife, Melody Rogers. His recent sit-down with Tasha K was a fumble at trying to do just that by praising his long-term side chick and downplaying his obsession with Melody and his desire for her attention. The receipts he produced of Melody in a justifiable rage, putting gasoline on his furniture while he omitted what he did to drive her to set it off, is textbook manipulation. Before Martell goes on a social media tirade about how I must be a fan of Melody because I published this because I guess she did a typo anyway. So I'm reading what she wrote, but because I published this. But let me clarify, I am no personal fan of anyone. What I am a fan of is any woman who walks away from an abusive marriage, relationship, friendship, or workplace and doesn't allow said abuser to play in her face by trying to rewrite history, especially one long documented on a reality series. Pause. All right. Claps to that. Because, listen, this is exactly what I have been saying. And what I've been saying is it hasn't been to be offensive to anyone that calls himself a millimeter, because I don't care what people choose to do. That's your choice. I was saying that for myself and also to just share that with anyone who comes to my platform to listen to my content, to know that I'm coming from a place of no bias. I'm not coming from a place of being on the side of the woman. I'm not coming from a place of being on the side of just Melody and I just purely hate Martell, or I'm a man hater or whatever. I'm coming because I'm coming from the side of right. Because I talked about Monique Samuels. Well, I think she still uses that last name, but she divorced Chris Samuels. I've talked about that, and I was more on his side than hers. That doesn't mean that I felt like he was the perfect husband or he was, praiseworthy or the consummate man or whatever. But I felt like there were a lot of issues there that Monique was not really honest about, and she just tried to make it seem like he was, this horrible person when it came to the point where she was just done with being in a marriage. So I'm not here just always solely women. Women are always right. Men are the devil and whatever. I come when I share content, basically seeing abuse happen in real time. And it is extremely shocking to me that this has been allowed to go on this show for so many years as if it's entertaining. And that's one of the reasons why I have an issue with Carlos King, because I do believe that in some ways he has been an enabler of Martell, and as well as this continuously going on. Because even in a clip that I heard of Melody confronting, if you will, Carlos when he did his live podcast, when she was his first guest on this tour that he's doing for his podcast, she said to him, you know, I've cried a lot and wondered, like, how long will you allow this to go on when you see what's happening? And that's a real thing. So I don't come to share my views, thoughts, and opinions on this situation because I'm a mellometer. I'm a fan of hers. I hate Martell. I don't like him because of what he has done and his ways. I root for her because she's right. Period. It has nothing to do with being a mellometer or just being a fan of women and all the other ridiculous things that some people try to conjure up to try to have what they call an unpopular opinion, to try to paint Melody as a villain. She's the victim. That's it. And being a victim doesn't mean that you're perfect. That should go without saying. None of us are perfect, okay? So when people try to use that line to say, well, Melody ain't perfect and she's done okay, and does that justify what she's gone through? Absolutely not. So I just wanted to cheer to what she said because I just felt like it was so perfectly put the way she wrote it, because I'm not a writer, and that's why I wanted to share this article. Okay. So unpause. Not only does Martell want Melody back, something stated in interviews throughout the years and admitted on the show, but he's pissed that she left him for good. During the season 3 reunion, Martell said what everyone already knew. Despite sharing his penis with another woman for 7 years of his 14-year marriage, he never thought he and Melody would end. Day one fans watched Melody go back and forth for 3 seasons before breaking free. We later learned that before the cameras began rolling for season 1, she left and went back once or twice, even going as far as moving out of their marital home with their 3 young children into her place. Because Martell no longer holds Melody's mind, body, or spirit, he's hell-bent on making her life hell and gaslighting anyone crazy enough to fall into his baby gap suited antics. Oh my God. Hilarious. I did not know that that line was going to be in this article. She said his baby gap suited antics. Continuing. Martell cannot live with the fact that Melody is thriving, and most people with sense can see that she was the engine that kept their family, former businesses, and his public image intact. Martell has insisted that he tries to co-parent with Melody in peace. Footage from Love and Marriage Huntsville proves otherwise. He's admitted to popping up on her on dates because he didn't feel she deserved to dine with another man at a restaurant they frequented in their 14-year marriage. This man is a freaking clown. He's shown up without an invitation to her home. He gets into screaming matches with anyone who remains her friend and defends her against his smear campaign on the show. He's shown up at birthday parties she planned for their daughters uninvited and acting a fool amid mixed company, knowing there's nothing in their custody arrangement that states either have to throw joint events. Exactly. Just pause for a moment. What divorced couples do you know throw joint birthday parties or events for their children if they don't want to? I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but if the two parents are not in a good place, that definitely isn't happening. And no court would ever order something like that to take place. For all they care, you could have 14 birthday parties for your child in the same year if you want to. So that's just ridiculous. Continuing. Their custody arrangement is 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, meaning each parent has the children for 2 whole weeks out of the month. Martell has shown in the series that he'll do anything to disrupt Melody's time with their children while she plans scheduled activities around her allotted time with the kids. Because Martell cannot control her anymore, he uses the children as bait. And because she refuses to play along, he's learned to get the sexist and misogynistic Alabama court system on his side by forbidding Melody from posting the children or having them on the show, as it benefits the success she's individually setting up for her and the kids. But when they were married and he was involved, the kids being on television and social media was not an issue. Adding insult to injury, he puts a battery in the back of his longtime mistress turned another mother of his child to do his dirty work. The same mistress he called a peasant on national television twice. The same mistress that when his marriage finally ended, he didn't wife her or at minimum publicly claim her. Instead, he pulled a reality TV crossover to make his ex-wife feel he upgraded with an OG Real Housewife of Atlanta, while said mistress and baby mama threw a tantrum on Instagram. True. It wasn't until his recent last-ditch effort to salvage his already damaged reputation in his interview with Tasha K that he confirmed she was his other woman, but noted he's currently single. When asked why he fell in love with his mistress, Ariane Curry, he couldn't give a definitive answer. Because he's not in love with her. Anyway, the same question was asked about his relationship with Melody. While he refused to dive into details to make the world believe he's not hung up on his ex, Martell said she possessed all the qualities he prayed for in his wife. Considering the stark difference between his past and present lives, one can assume that means a woman he could build with, who looked good on paper and in reality would have his back. She did that until she could no longer tolerate his disrespect. When she left, his world crumbled. He admitted to being in financial distress after they dissolved their joint businesses. With new entertainment ventures, Melody continued working in real estate via the property preservation business, while Martell struggled to stay afloat due to needing a builder's license. So it turns out Melody was the beauty and brains behind the former Holt machine. But as a true Southern belle, she made sure to front like everything was a partnership. And see, I'm going to pause right there. And if anyone wants to give Melody a fault, that was a huge one. We don't make mistakes. These are not mistakes. These are bad choices and bad decisions. She made a bad choice and bad decision in investing in a narcissistic fool and covering for that said narcissistic fool that she married. That was a bad choice, bad decision. It wasn't a mistake. Like I've said before, mistakes and bad choices and bad decisions are not the same. And that's okay. None of us are perfect, and we all are subject to make bad choices and bad decisions, and we do. I've made some. I've made several of them as a human being. And it doesn't feel good. But when we realize what we did and we own up to it and we do what we can to forge ahead and not make those same bad choices and bad decisions ever again, then we can succeed, you know? So I just wanted to point that out. And I'm quite sure she recognized that, and that's why she chose to be done with, like she said, his dusty ass. Her words. All right, let's continue. Martell tried his hardest to make Melody look dumb for confronting Ariane and asking why she stayed with him so long after discovering his affair. I don't know many married women who hadn't done the same or worse, especially one with 4 minor children and million-dollar businesses before bidding a final farewell to her cheating husband. Pause. This is exactly what I am saying. It really grinds my gears when I hear people talking about, she knew he was cheating all these years and her, whatever they call her, chose to stay with him. And I've said this over and over again. Even people who are not married, there are women that have not been married to the man and they found out that the man was unfaithful. Most of them don't leave immediately. For a lot of women, infidelity is not a deal breaker. It's not okay. I'm not saying that they say it's okay with them, but they don't just immediately say, I'm done. Yeah, there have been some that have done that, but marriage really is a business. And when you are married and you have children on top of that, it's not as easy to just get up and leave. Whether you are, doing well financially like she was and doing even better now that she left him, or unfortunately you're in a position where you are dependent on that man and you need him in order to live, most of them are not going to leave immediately. So I really don't like that narrative when people push that about Well, she knew all these years that he was cheating and she chose to stay. She left and then she came back. Listen, that is the story of so many women, okay? So please leave that alone. Continuing. Melody didn't want to leave her marriage. She had no choice. Martell wanted his Betty Crocker boss of a wife at home, while his younger and desperate to prove to his wife that she had her man, freak of every week stroked his ego and gave him an escape from the reality that he wasn't the man he cracked himself up to be. It wasn't until Melody was away from Martell and realized she could live her life better and more peacefully without him that she could stand firm in her decision. That, coupled with the fact that the world knew his mistress was probably pregnant, was she able to fly without Martell. As we've seen on television right with our very eyes, when it comes to Melody, Martell can be dangerous. We know about the revenge porn plot that he conjured up with said mistress, who admitted the details in a leaked audio with a popular YouTuber. And I'm just going to pause right there and give her credit, the original Straight No Chaser. All right, continuing. Martell is dedicated to making the world believe Melody cheated in their marriage while they were together. He also alleged that his fifth child wasn't conceived while he and Melody were together. Instead, they were separated. But the math isn't mathing. Melody and Martell's youngest child and his son with Ariane are a year apart. We watched the overlap in the two relationships on the show, and Melody catching him communicating with her secretly while they were trying to work on repairing their fractured marriage. Allegedly, it was also not the first pregnancy for Ariane and Martell. In leaked audio with Tasha K, Ariane admitted to terminating 2 previous pregnancies because of his marriage. Melody may not be innocent overall in how she interacted with her co-stars in the early seasons of the OWN series. Her commitment to trying to expose the alleged infidelities in Marceau and Letitia Scott's marriage was controversial, mainly because it appeared she wanted to bring anyone down with her and Martell due to their marriage going down the drain. I'm going to pause it right there for a moment. I do believe that is one of the situations that it is really how you look at it. My personal opinion, and this is coming from someone who is not a melometer, I don't believe and agree with the narrative that she was hell-bent on trying to destroy other people's marriages and expose infidelity in theirs because of what was going on in hers. But what I do believe is that because she knew of things that were going on and how I believe more so, not really Kimmy, but Letitia was playing in her face to make it seem like, well, I never dealt with that in my marriage. And just making it seem like, you know, my marriage is this and my marriage is that. I never dealt with that in my marriage. So I believe that is something that really pissed Melody off, to be like, I believe this chick knows, but she just wants to make me look like I'm in this horrible marriage and my marriage is crumbling, and she's low-key copying me and doing things to try to emulate me when all I've done was try to help her, and we're doing this, you know? And also, they're on a freaking reality show. They weren't on HGTV. They were on a reality show that you have to have some drama that is real, really isn't made up, hopefully. So that was just playing the game in a way, but it's all how some people see it. So I just wanted to pause it there and speak on that, just sharing my opinion about it. All right, continuing. She also blamed Martell's friendship with the Scott brothers for him seemingly switching up in their marriage, as the Scott brothers were alleged to be known philanderers and prefer their women to be more traditional. Thankfully, she since evolved from the hurt people era, but Melody isn't responsible for the dissolution of her marriage. The only thing Melody is guilty of is not leaving Martell sooner. The sad part is that Martell has had ample opportunities to humble himself and present a different side of himself to the world. The marriage is over, and Melody isn't coming back. It would be a more interesting and digestible show to watch him in therapy, juggling co-parenting, and raising his children, studying for the builder's license he never had, and working to reestablish the community's trust in him as a businessman. But he prefers to take this route. It hasn't been working for him, and he's sinking further into a hole. The word may be overused as we as a world become more cognizant of our mental health, but if you Google the definition of a narcissist, Martellholt's picture might show up. That's the end of that article, and I just have to give that some claps. I'm telling you, it really is a great article, and it is the truth. And as a writer, this person was trying to give him some grace, trying to give some pointers and tips. But as the narcissist, that he is, he will never humble himself. Life will have to do that. His actions are going to humble him. He's going to be continuously reaping the seeds that he has sown, and his harvest is not going to be sweet. But this person said some great things that would make sense. Honestly, it would put more people on his side. I wouldn't be on his side. I don't care what he did to try to turn over a new leaf. I would just say, okay, praise God. He's getting his life right with the Lord. So before he leaves here to meet his maker, maybe he won't be burning in hell for all eternity. But that has nothing to do with me. I still wouldn't like him because I'm not Jesus. So I might forgive, but I won't forget. And so forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I wouldn't be rooting for him or be on his side, but he probably would get more people that would root for him. There's no sanity in anyone that would be rooting for him where he is right now and trying to paint Melody out to be the villain. But if he were to do the things like the person said, just realize the marriage is done. Do your best to try to respect the mother of your 4 children, or the term he uses all the time, 4 beautiful children that came from this woman that you conceived with her, and respect her. Because how do you think the children are going to feel about you seeing how you're doing their mother? Like, it's crazy. Like, he treats the woman that he was married to for 14 years like she is some hood rat baby mama that he just slid up in 4 times. Couldn't be once because they have 4 children. Okay. But he just slid up in 4 times. She wound up getting pregnant all those 4 times, but he never married her. Didn't really know her that well. She was just a slide. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane. But if he did these things like the person said, get your builder's license, show people, that you're doing your best to do that. You saw a couple of scenes, but it wasn't real. But you're actually really doing that instead of using other people for their builder's license so that you can work under them illegally. Okay. That's like me in my business. If I am a licensed esthetician and I bring somebody else in I just train them to do the services, but they're not licensed and they're working under my license. That's illegal. You can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. You know how much money I could be making if I just hired people to do the services that were not licensed and just train them to do the skills and work under my... You can't do that. I've never operated my business unethically, so I don't understand how anyone... I'm not talking about Melody because they were married and that's just something that they chose to do. But whoever is allowing him to work under their builder's license at this point in time, you really should stop it because you might wind up losing yours if somebody reports you. But I'm saying if he did like the person said in the article, he's trying his best to get his builder's license. You're juggling co-parenting. You're raising the children and, trying to reestablish trust in the community. Nobody wants to see you with that forever side chick on the show. That's never going to happen. She's been wanting to be on television for years. And I do believe that there's some things missing with her up there. It's just really weird. But I wanted to share this article with you guys because I really found it interesting, very hilarious, but definitely insightful and nothing but the truth. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for being here, for liking and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I just wanted to keep it brief, beautiful. And now I'm going to say bye.